Arr, me hearties. Welcome back to Closely Observed English, and today I'm a pirate, it seems. Um, yeah, these zoom filters for the video are pretty interesting. I'll give them that. Gone Snapchat, haven't they? All right, today we're looking at more writing feedback, and we're looking at C1 Advanced and a proposal. This is a part 2 writing task. So let's get right into it, shall we? And take a look at our rubric. So the rubric says you are a member of the Students' Council at the college where you study. The principal of the college wants to make it easier for first-year students from other countries to fit into college life, has invited you to send in a proposal with practical suggestions. You've been asked specifically to consider improving the range of social activities on offer and appointing student advisors to help new students. Okay, now this isn't a great example of a proposal. I think this is a non-Cambridge book because it's not completely clear what the 3 content points are. And I think that's one of the reasons that the response from the candidate is pretty short. So the candidate and the notes here, we can see that we've got consider improving the range of social activities on offer as one content point, and appointing student advisors to help new students as the next one. Okay. We can't really get another content point out of this, so it's there should be 3. There should be 3 content points. We could have something about this general idea of making it easier, or why it's important, I suppose, but then we're kind of drawing more out than we ought to have to. So unfortunately, we do get this. A lot of what we might call third-party writers of exam materials don't really do a very good job of producing rubrics that follow the Cambridge scheme. The Cambridge scheme is that you have 3 content points. So I'm not going to give a content mark here. I'm going to give some guidance, but I'm not going to give a content mark for this piece of writing because it's impossible really to judge. Okay, so introduction. The purpose of this proposal is to encourage the integration of overseas students into this college. Okay, social activities. Judging by recent figures, it is clear that social activities organized by the college are not very well attended. From my own personal experience, I am led to believe that the main problem comes from poor publicity. Seldom are students informed about where and when the social activities are taking place. This is a huge hindrance. However, it can be fixed through voice messages from the college radio or activities presentation, the big TV, so everyone from the scholars can see it. I'd recommend hiring entertainers to make the social activities more interesting and fun. Student advisors. It would also be a good idea, in my opinion, to include several student advisors. During teenage years, it is hard for the students to maintain balance between social and school life. Finding compassion and guidance from the mentors or the advisors would be beneficial for their mental health. An experienced advisor would be responsible for helping and integrating the students from abroad. Okay. And conclusion, I suggest that we ask for volunteers to help with all the areas mentioned above. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about the content mark, but I can talk about the content. The introduction is okay, but it could be better. Is it to encourage the integration of overseas students into this college, or is it to help the college do a better job of integrating the students? Yeah, because the way it's written here, it seems more like the students have a problem that we're trying to solve. It's not. It's the college wants to improve what they're doing. Social activities, this is okay. I think this idea of poor attendance is built very well, but then the last sentence isn't on that topic. It sticks out. It's irrelevant compared to the rest of the topic. However, given the space that's still available, that would be a good way of building a third kind of content point, is to have another aspect of the social activities. When the rubric says, though, consider improving the range of social activities on offer, talking about how there's not enough advertising connected with it, maybe that's not really connected to the content, I suppose. Yeah, now that I think about it, maybe it's, yeah. What does it really mean? Consider improving the range of social activities on offer. Well, the range would be the diversity. So instead of just having like, I don't know, if they're at college, they'd be old enough to drink, wouldn't they? So if there's one social activity and that's a drinking thing, then that's not going to attract people who don't drink much. So maybe the social activities could be expanded to include something sporting, something cultural like museum and art gallery visits, maybe something techie like LAN parties where you've got all the computers set up and you play multiplayer Doom or Quake or whatever it is people do these days. So that's really what they're talking about with range, and we don't really have that dealt with enough here. I think that the point that's made about word not being spread very well and attendance being a problem, sure, that's an interesting point, but I don't think it's closely enough connected to what there is in the rubric. The idea of student advisors is kind of included. That's fine. And I think that that paragraph, this one just here, is built fairly well. Now, in terms of communicative achievement, again, it's difficult to grade because we don't really have the content to look at, but the points that are raised reasonably well. They just don't tie in very well with what's there in the rubric. So I think we're going to be looking at a 2 really for that, because the ideas are not able to be built enough just from what we have just here. We need more. We need more information. We need introduce the problem, develop the problem, conclude the problem, and then that would feed into the communicative achievement. In terms of organization, I would say that the text is generally quite well organized. So we'd be looking at between a 2 and a 3. I think that you would expect to see longer sentences here and there because it's formal writing. And I think that having that sentence, the one that I've pointed out already, in that paragraph detracts from the organization of that paragraph. There could be more stitching between sentences in the student advisors one. We have a relatively short sentence, a relatively short sentence, a relatively short sentence, a relatively short sentence, and there's not much kind of stitching between them, which is why I'm heading more towards a 2 than a 3. There's some signs of variation in sentence structure, which is good. So that's a positive aspect, and that brings us then on to the language. I like the start of the social activities thing. Judging by recent figures, it is clear that social activities organized by the college are not very well attended. That's good. It's a slip, I would say. I'm led to believe, LED led, to believe that the main problem comes from poor publicity. That's fine. Seldom are students informed. Okay, so you can have inversion here. The question is why? I would say it is seldom for students to be informed. That would make more sense. Seldom are students informed. I think it's putting too much stress on the word seldom, which is not really the crucial thing here. I would change the structure there a little bit. This is a huge hindrance. However, it can be fixed through voice messages from the college radio or activities presentation, the big TV. There's either a slip there or a mistake presented on the big TV. Which big TV do you mean? We don't know enough about this college to know that they only have one TV where people can watch things. Do you mean on the interactive screens around the college? Are there like advertising boards or something? And the word scholars here, why does that appear? Well, I think that this is synonym syndrome. Is that what I called it? I think it's what I called it, synonym syndrome. I've already used the word student. I can't use the word student again, so I better go for either pupil or scholar. No, if the word is student, use students. You're a member of the Students' Council. The principal of the college wants to make it easier for first-year students, appointing student advisors to help new students. Have a look at the rubric again and see how many times the word student is used. See how many times alternatives to the word student is used. There are no alternatives in the rubric, and that's a good guide. Yeah, sometimes the best word is the only word, and the only word is the best word, and that's the case with student. So all in all, probably because it's such a short text as well, it's 190 words. For the whole thing. And remember, you can write, what was it, 220 to 260, I think, for C1 Advanced. There's space for another 70 words, more or less, here. And that would be a huge difference, and it would have an impact on the language mark. So I'm going to go for a 2 just here. So This has been a slightly different, slightly unusual task because we haven't seen the 3 content points very clearly. Of the 2 content points that were introduced here, one of them is not clearly addressed because they've started talking about poor attendance rather than improving the range of social activities. So it is important to read the rubric, but it's also crucially important that you find rubrics that are authentic. And if there aren't 3 content points, it's not authentic. So avast ye, third-party rubrics. Rawr. Yeah, I wouldn't make a very good party. I am no Geoffrey Rush. On that note, thank you and see you next time.